We are so excited to be here. Welcome to the very first Vixens UnLearning. It's the first of our 4-part series. We're so excited to introduce you to our first guest artist for Vixens UnLearning, but we wanted to talk to you first before getting into that. I'm sure you'll notice that all the Vixens that are here right now are not in bodice and are not in accent. This was very purposeful. Hold on one second.
I'm just not seeing us on Twitch. Oh, and there we are.
Hello. This was very purposeful. There we are. So there's a little bit of a delay, apparently. So as I was saying, this was purposeful. We thought that it was very important for us to have these conversations with our guest artists as ourselves, as performers, as actors, as artists. And while we are doing internal work on our Vixen characters, we really wanted to be able to have these conversations as us. So we are very, very excited for tonight. We're so glad that you're here joining us. And I will now pass it over to Lisa/Athena.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm Lisa. You know me better as Athena. I'm the creative director for the Vixens on Guard, along with Tara, who is our managing director. And we are really, really excited to announce a brand new thing that we're doing. We're bringing it to you now. So tonight we are going to be Vixens UnLearning. And the whole idea behind this series is that we are going to be spotlighting some incredible artists, artists of color in particular, who are working in industries and areas that overlap with what the Vixens do. So we're going to be talking with folks in the stage combat community, the comedy community, Shakespeare experts and artists who will be able to bring a different perspective to the work than what we have been doing for the past 10 years. Actually, I think 11 now that we've been performing. It's hard to count this year as a performance season because we sort of didn't, but we're doing it here on Twitch, and you know what? That counts. So we are thrilled to kick off tonight's series with an amazing artist, a phenomenal stage combatant, Candace Kendall-Browne. Woo! Let's welcome her. Welcome, Candace. Yay!
Hello.
Hi. I'm just going to read your bio real quick so everybody knows who you are and what you do. Candace is a former New York Renaissance Fair actor-combatant known for her roles as Morgan Kilmore of the Sheriff's Guard and Queen Aurora. Her most recent performance has been the role of FBI agent Phoebe Kelly in the monthly 80s live soap opera It's Getting Tired, Mildred, at the Pit Loft. She is also the creator and host of the 3-part online series Chips and the Cookie, which focuses on the Black experience in white spaces, which is going to overlap a lot with what we talk about today. The title that Candace is most proud of is Mother of Giants. Candace, we're so happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and to be a part of this and to be a part of your inauguration of the Vixens UnLearning. So thank you.
Absolutely. So we're going to have a conversation tonight about some topics that are really, really important to us as artists, to Candace and her work. And we're really hoping that it'll be interesting and informative for everybody out there as well. So the places where Candace really overlaps with us is obviously the stage combat world and her experiences at Ren Fair.
Yes.
And I want to start opening up the conversation with those topics and at Ren Fair in particular. And if you can speak to your experience, and I know through the Chips and the Cookie panel, you've gathered a lot of information on other Black actors' experiences as well, not to universalize the Black experience, but from your perspective and from what you've been talking about with other people as well, what it's like to be a Black actor at the Renaissance Fair in terms of casting, interactions with the audience, and how it feels to assimilate into that very, very European culture.
Well, let me just say that the New York Renaissance Fair did change my life. The majority of the people who are very much still in my life now, and my closest friends, are from there. I started there in 1997. And the most important thing for me was, the reason I wanted to work there to begin with was, when as a patron, and there I am sitting at the jousts, and I hear, Maid Marian, in walks this beautiful Black woman. And I just go, I can work here? They will hire people that look like me here? Really? And I'll get to play with swords? Really? And it's that thing that I think a lot of people have to understand. Representation matters. Because of that actress that I saw in the early 90s, I was like, I want to be able to come and do this. And, so went to AMDA, got my stage combat, got my certification, auditioned, made the wrong move. I will never forget this. It was supposed to be a swipe, but I saw a quick opening and I went for a thrust because I was nervous. And the person with me, their eyes just bulged out. And I was like, oh my God, thinking, that's it. They're never going to hire me. They think I suck. And they're like, no, you knew what you were doing. I was like, I'm sorry. My fighting instinct I saw the opening and I took it. It was safe, but I took it. And that began the whole thing of, coming to the Renaissance Fair. And my first year, I was a Puritan. That made a whole lot of sense. But, and then there I was fighting on the chessboard. Why is the Puritan, a Black Puritan, fighting on the chessboard? And so that began the whole justifying what I looked like, to not just, so it's not just the character work of, oh, well, she's a Puritan, but she has this history. I also had to explain why my Blackness was there. And luckily, my first year, there were, as I like to say, a few chips in the cookie. Two of us female chips were on the chessboard. The other performer, she presented more male, so there wasn't as much of a question. It was just, she assimilated into, with the Robin Hood band. With me, here's a Puritan, Black Puritan, let's be real. So that's when you start creating the whole story of every single character, with the exception of Queen Aurora, that I have ever played at the fair has had a history in the Caribbean, which is where my family is from. And I've always had to tie in the Caribbean to explain, again, why my Blackness was there. And in some years, there were just two of us in the cast. There was, I believe it was in 2001, they had this wonderful idea. Let's have an international court, and we're going to have an African queen. Then was born Queen Aurora and Mina of West Africa. Yes. And here was a character who did not have to explain her Blackness in England. She was visiting royalty, learning about England is going to do this trade. Yes? What are you trading? Because I hear you are trading peoples. So able to bring a little piece of history, even though my character was based on a fictional country, not very far from Wakanda, and just bring her in. And over the years, one of the beautiful things I saw over the years working at the fair, more faces that looked like mine, because there were a few here and there, but not so many coming through the gates. And I remember over the years seeing one family come through the gate. The following year, they came more than once. The following year, they came in garb. And eventually their garb got, and started seeing them more and more and more. And I would go up to them and I'd say, I just have to say thank you, because seeing you come here makes me feel a little bit less, kind of out of place. Yes, everyone accepts that I'm here because they go, oh, it's a diversity casting. But to accept like this African queen coming in, and they would tell me, it's because of you that we're coming, because you're here. And then, myself, Robbie, excuse me, Tita, even the years that I wasn't there, Paula, so many other people started coming to perform, but it was still such a small group. So many, few chips, very, very, very few chips in the cookie. And we all know a good chocolate chip cookie's got a lot of chips. But, there were so few. And also, I'll never forget when I was Queen Ororo and a family from West Africa came in, and I could tell by how they were dressed. And I'm like, oh man, they're going to think I'm making fun. They're going to think that I saw Coming to America and I'm just like mucking it all up. And I went up to them. I said, thank you for being here. Please understand, I am creating an affectation of us. And I hope you are not insulted. And they were like, sister, we are glad to see we are here. And that, certain things like that have always stayed with me. Because again, we need to see ourselves. And we need to see ourselves proudly being ourselves, not just, assimilating into, oh, we're British, we've always been British. But we all know that's not the case. We all know that, many West Africans came over, into England and were free. They weren't slaves, at least not yet, and it's back at the fair. I was so happy that they didn't even, or at least I felt they didn't take my complexion as, oh, how do we explain this, to people? I guess that's the work we did as actors. But I am saddened that over the years, I'm seeing less and less. And especially in the stage combat world, I had gone away from it for a good many years. And then, I looked up some information and I was just like, wow, there's still so few chips in that cookie. It's 2020. People are supposed to be a little bit more woke now, but still, what is happening? And it's not a case of, I would like to know why more Black performers aren't either, I don't know if it's a case of they're not aware. It's a case of they just feel that they shouldn't and they don't belong. And if that's the case, the people that are already there have to say, no, please, we want you. We want you to come along. We want to enrich the story we are telling, the collective story that we are telling. It's a Ren Fair, it's a fantasy. We're not going for complete historical accuracy here. I mean, come on, Queen Elizabeth's Robin Hood, and just get out there and get more people into it. And it's funny because lately I've been really getting more entrenched into a cosplay community. and Black cosplayers. And I'm sitting here listening to these people and I'm like, oh my gosh, where are all you guys? I'm seeing videos of swordswomen and I'm like, why are you not like turning this into that and letting people see you, not just a video you post, but let people come through a gate and see you do what you do, because you need to be seen. We need to be seen, and I think when people create their different performance spaces, they need to look at their spaces and go, okay, we need to, I hate to say this, but until it becomes second nature, we need to turn this into a Benetton ad. And I don't know if all of you are old enough to know that reference, but Benetton was really big on showing a rainbow of people in all of their ads, to the point that it was like people started to parody it. But it's true. It's like you have to look at your spaces and say, are we including everyone we can to bring forth an even richer product? I once said, a beautiful garden has many flowers, not just one. And the many flowers is what makes it, so beautiful. And I mean, that's my whole thing. And with patrons coming in, especially working at a Renaissance fair where people don't always come from the city, and, you do your bit, you do your little, your walk-bys and whatnot, you do your little improv with a person, and then you look up and you see them with a Confederate flag on their jacket, or the one time where I actually saw a swastika. And I just started shaking. And I continued to do my shtick. And I was like, well, good day, sir, and this, that, be well, and all of that, walked away and just had to go sit down and shake. And they played along with me. They didn't do anything insulting. They played along. They were there for a good time. So to this day, I don't know, did you forget that was on there? Did you just keep it there and just go along with it? But it's something that you always have to remember, especially, this isn't a New York fair. I'd be kind of afraid to go to some other fairs where I could just imagine. First of all, we've got chicks fighting. Well, whoa, there's a black one there. What's that all about? But I'm like, at the same time, you have to show that no. It's all inclusive. It's everybody, and we do have to be mindful and be more aware of like microaggressions that we will see, because we've all gone out and you see small things happening, and especially in a performance space, sometimes some things will happen and you have to be like, nah, reel it back and be supportive to your fellow performers, period. But do, in certain areas, be aware of your fellow performers that are other, if that makes sense. So I think I just dovetailed into a whole lot of other stuff. I'm sorry.
I'd love to pull back, not away from what you're saying, but back to something you said earlier about seeing on social media, in particular, phenomenal Black swordswomen or Black warrior women of many kinds, and the question of why don't we see more of that in our smaller circles and communities? Can you speak to a little bit what you have seen or what you think of as some of the barriers? You mentioned just pure lack of representation, which absolutely is a huge barrier. And but I'm really interested and curious about that idea of how to open up those spaces. I think we can talk a little bit about this. I think throughout many of the topics we'll get into, but particularly for Ren Fair and stage combat.
I think particularly you have to say, yes, this is a space that we want you. Because people will go where they are wanted. But you have to say, we want you. You have to say, we are interested in you. You have to say, we want to work with you. Because it's funny. I just watched a discussion where something like Black Panther and seeing Dora Milaje and these amazing warrior women. I'm like, I grew up at a time where I didn't have that. So I paved, I just went and did it because I'm stupid. I just went and did it. And it's terrifying to go into, that audition. Because I was like, yeah, I saw Maid Marian and that was it. It's terrifying to go in there and think, are you going to see the value in me? Because I'm asking permission to be in a space where I don't see a lot of me. So that's where the people in those spaces have to say, we are looking, we are seeking. The Hamilton cast didn't end up looking like the Hamilton cast till they said, this is what we want. Because if they didn't say, this is what we want, Hamilton would not be what it is. And so, I am puzzled as well. How come there are not more Black women? And I'm going to say Black women specifically, because Black women visually stick out more. I mean, you put me in a group of women and somebody's come to meet me and they're like, well, where are you? And I'm like, there's one obvious thing about me that sticks out. And I'm in 2020. Okay, let's go back. 2019. I am still surprised that I'm like, so few men and women, and I saw one woman, one, 2019, SAFD. No, not SAFD. Is that the right acronym?
For the Society of American Fight Directors?
Yes. Yeah, I saw one. And I'm sitting there going, no, I'm going to see more. I'm going to see more. I'm going to see more. No. Even in shows that I've seen, I don't see Black women with weapons in their hands. I don't. And I'm sitting there going, I learned because it was part of my acting training. It was, studio kids at AMDA, they all got, so I'm like, and I know that at, NYU and other, they're all getting this. And I'm sitting here going, is it an elective or something? Why? And then why for people that, do study it, why aren't they made to feel that they can continue with it if it's something that they enjoy? What is happening that is making them put the sword down and either, do, straight theater without it, or not come and do a Ren Fair or do a Shakespeare play with fighting in it? It's why are they made to feel that they can't do it? And that's the thing. You have to make people feel like they can come and do it. And because if you're just going to assume, well, nobody showed up. No, we're not there yet where you can say nobody showed up. And so it's you have to create the space and tell them, we have space here for you. We want to see you. you know, and that's what has to happen right now. We want to see you, because I am pretty sure you're going to get, like, in the next 5 years, even more, because once again, representation counts. They watch a movie where they see it happening, then they want to do it. Then they take the acting class, they go to acting school, they take stage combat, and they go, oh, I don't have to put the sword down, because they will want me. And they want me.
To this exact point, I just want to elevate a comment that's in the chat right now from Hoovy and Mom 22. So thank you for being bold and brave and joining us for the discussion, Hoovy and Mom. Comment says that sometimes we are discouraged from learning stage combat as it is not perceived as a useful stage skill since we are never cast in those roles. And that is it's so frustrating to realize that, because then it creates a cyclical effect that if Black women are not taught those skills in the first place and are therefore not cast in those roles, then other Black women don't see them in those roles.
And to
go out to pursue the skills.
Right.
And if you don't already have the skill, you won't be cast in the role, but they won't teach you the skill because you'll never be cast in that role.
That's the other thing that kills me, is that they will take, and this theater, Hollywood, it's notorious for this. They will take someone and teach them to do something, but won't hire somebody who knows how to do it because of whatever. Sometimes you have to storm your own path. Going back to the Ren Fair, a character I created, Morgan Kilmore, Sheriff's Guard, first woman at that fair to ever be a guard. First. Why? Because I said, here's a proposal. You've seen what I can do. Here's a proposal. I want to play this character. Here's her history. Yes, her mother's from the Caribbean. Da 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 da. Here it is. They said, okay. And I worked my ass off to create that character, to the point that some patrons just thought I wasn't acting. You know, they really thought I was just that mean and evil, and some people were surprised to know that I actually could smile. But if sometimes you gotta walk up, and trust me, even though yes, I walked up then, there are many times where I did not walk up, and I wish I did. Sometimes you have to kick down that door until they say okay, because I think since I did it, they've always had a woman in the guards. I think so. I think just about every year they've had a woman in the guard. It took one. Once again, a Black woman pioneered, you know, something. And but yes, it is sick, but it's like the addiction. You have to break that cycle. You have to break that cycle. So when you are on the controlling end of a performance space, you say, I'm going to break this addiction. And I am going to make sure my performance company, my performance space is inclusive of everybody, especially if for your product to go out. And as artists, what do we want to do? We just want to inspire other people. I mean, that's what being an artist is for me, to move other people, to inspire other people to do. And if we close it off and say, well, no, because, you know, people like you don't do that. I'm like, go ahead and tell Morgan Freeman that, please. Go tell Grace Jones she can't do something. So,
Well, I can tell you right now that you have been an inspiration to some folks in the chat. And again, I just want to shout out, we have another particular fan of yours, Candace, Maria, who is a friend of the Vixens. We know her from Nerf. Hey, Maria. Who in recent years was one of those female guards that until you stepped up may not have been able to be considered for that kind of role. And just want to let you know that your particular inspiration is being felt and appreciated.
Thank you. I'm going to get all weepy and like sobby and everything. That's beautiful.
Can we carry on that theme? And I know you mentioned the Dora Milaje earlier.
Yes.
Speaking of representation and speaking of those powerful Black warrior women, can you talk to some of those representations, and in particular, any of your inspirations? So
for me, like my first Renaissance Fair inspiration to tell me that I can go there was the actress who played Maid Marian in the early 90s. I believe her name was Michelle Hurd. I don't know if I'll get in trouble for mentioning her name, but that's who she was. And she doesn't know me from Adam. She changed my life. But prior to that, Grace Jones in Conan. And I looked at her and I mean, I was already, every time I would pick up a stick and I thought I was Errol Flynn because nobody told this Black girl she couldn't be Errol Flynn. So I did it. But Grace Jones. And then you had like Pam Grier. And so it's like you mix the sassy fieriness of Pam Grier and the fierce, I will cut a man down in a heartbeat, Grace Jones. These were the people that were sitting in my head and made me say, okay, I'm gonna try to do this. Then I'm gonna walk around like, yeah, I'm all that and then some. Meanwhile, inside be like, oh my gosh, are they really gonna let me do it? They're letting me do it. Oh my gosh. Okay, just breathe. Okay, okay, and remember, and what kills me though is that that's pretty much it. For sci-fi, I had Uhuru, but so few. So few. Because there were other great performers out there, but they weren't doing the physical stuff. And I'm pretty sure you ladies had this feeling too when you saw Wonder Woman and in Themyscira. I cried because I saw people that looked like me. And I was like, where was I for the casting call for this? What the hell? I should have been there. But I cried because I'm like, oh my gosh, if I had seen that when I was a little girl, could you imagine the monster that would exist now? If I had seen the beautiful women of the Dora Milaje, toe to toe, and just doing what they do, I'm like, I would, people would have to try to rein me in, if that's what I saw in my youth. And that's why I constantly say representation matters. We constantly need to see ourselves doing things that everybody else tells us it's not for you. Or my favorite thing within the Black community is that's a white thing to do. And I'm like, you've seen Shaka Zulu, you've seen those warriors, okay? Just because we've got darker skin doesn't mean we didn't pick up steel, we did not fight, we did. And because of the history of how many Africans came to this country, they were stripped of a lot of that knowledge. And I'm like, let's start taking that knowledge back, bringing that knowledge back, and showing that knowledge, because our young people need to see it, especially now with things being as wonky as they are. They need to see that sword fighting is another storytelling art. It is telling the story. It enhances a story. It could be a struggle, for power. It can be a seduction. It could be so many things. It could be a training, but they need to see it, and we need more than just Grace Jones, who's amazing, and Pam Grier. We need more. And not just on film. We need to see it on stage too. I've seen amazing Black actresses on stage. I mean, my first introduction to Viola Davis was on stage, and she was amazing. Oh my gosh. If they did like a gender bent, or better yet, just Benedict and Beatrice doing a physical fight. That's a seduction I want to see. I mean, that got me all tingly. I want to see that. I also want to see some of the stories from the motherland. My family got dropped off in South America, so I'm the first American born in my family. But I want to see some of the Guyanese stories, and I want to see the stories from the motherland put up on the stage. Because I also know that part of that storytelling is the physical stuff. And I want to see that. And I want people to bring it. I'm not a writer or a director, but I will gladly come and watch, or I will gladly be on stage for that, to see that, to introduce a piece of that history, So.
I would love to hear you talk more. I think it's a really interesting distinction that you made about not only seeing representation on film, but also see it on stage. I feel like sometimes the idea of representation matters, which obviously it does, gets sort of plastered as a blanket statement. And I agree, it should be everywhere. Right. But I would love to hear you talk more about why you think it's important to see that kind of representation live and in person versus on a screen.
Live and in person, it's easy to say, oh, but that's Hollywood. It's easy to say, oh, but that's there. But when it's live and in person, and you can stand by a stage door and see that person, shake their hand, that brings it home. I'm all about bringing stuff home. To see the looks on little girls' faces, when I'm, whether I'm Queen Aurora or, a lady in waiting or, a sheriff's guard. And for a little girl to look at me and she's got her little sword in her hand, yeah, in a movie, it's great and it's wonderful. But for her to actually touch my hand and see that and think, this is what I want to do, there's nothing. There's a reason we have all the senses that we have. It's to make us alive and just be a part of the world, in the world, And it's, I had a job where I was working at various theaters, and they do the talkbacks. And I would see lots of school groups and lots of Black school groups. And they're in the talk back, and this is what they're doing during the talk back with the phone. But as soon as they see themselves, they go and put it down. Because they're like, wait a minute, if you're there and I'm hearing your story of how you got on that stage, then it's not so crazy for me to think that I can be there as well. Or I can look at you and be inspired to write something, or to direct something, or to pull out my camera and create, or to write a poem about what I just saw. Because it is there. You can smell it, you can feel it, you can hear it. You don't get close enough to taste it, but you get my meaning. And that's why I remember when my boys were really small, I worked in my son's school in the after school program. And I showed them a video of me doing the sword fighting on the chessboard. And all of a sudden, all of the kids are like, oh, well, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. Because they know somebody who does it. And in this school, you've got all sorts of kids, Black, white, Indian, everything, all kinds of kids. And they're all saying, we can do this because Miss Brown does it. And if Miss Brown can do it, I think I can do it too. So it's not just some, on a screen, which is cool. But when right there, when you can touch it, when you can feel it, and yes, you learned that horse is real, it touches something inside of you and you keep it with you and you take it with you, even if you go off and become a lawyer or a doctor or whatever, you don't forget how that person right in front of you made you feel. And that's why it's like, we've got to see it. We've got to see it in these shows where kids are shows that travel to the schools. These kids need to see themselves. These teenagers need to see themselves. Middle schoolers, even preschool, they need to see themselves because they also need to know that it's not wrong to want to do this. And in that same vein, tell them, yes, it's okay for you to want to do this because we want to show you how to do this so that you can in turn do it with us.
That's actually a great segue, I think, to the last topic that I'd love to open up for you. Mm-hmm. For one thing, just thank you for that. That was really powerful to hear. I am personally extremely moved by what you just said. And I know from looking at everybody's faces, what you're saying is really, really landing with all of the people here on screen. You're getting a lot of love and support in the chat as well. So it's important to see yourself on stage. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, we as artists, mm-hmm. like we talked about earlier, need to not assume that the world is going to come to us and yes. fill in the gaps, but that we need to actively, proactively seek out the people that we want to represent, the people yes. that we provide representation to, and opportunities for them to do so. This is a really big topic, and I definitely don't expect you to solve this in the 15 minutes that we have left. But from your personal perspective, from your experience, how can we as artists create those more inclusive spaces, those more welcoming spaces, and ensure that we are being respectful, I guess not only being respectful of different cultures as we produce our art, but actively encourage the presence of other cultures in the art that we are making?
I would say do homework. One, do homework. Look beyond, the European, sword fighting style. There's there's a video of this woman, I think she's in India, this much on in her years, teaching a sword fighting style. And I'm just like, bring an awareness of that in. Find people who are familiar with it. And it's everything that you have to try to do, you have to start from within yourself. So, in everything that we do, whether we go to work or whatever, we start within ourselves. And part of that in ourselves is doing the homework, research, and look. And then when you're like, and then network and try to find the people. Hey, I saw you have this video. Where did you get this? Da, da, da. Can you come and teach me? Do you have other people? Here's my idea, and I would like to include you into this, but I need you to show me, especially when you're dealing with a style that is not your own. You show me. It's like, I started out as a dancer, but I would go take an African dance class from people that would show me, and that I was taking belly dance class. I would go to people who do belly dance and learn from them. And so that's the thing. It's like you go out and you find, and then that's when you open the conversation and say, hey, I've got this thing. I'd like to bring you into it. How can we work together so that we could present this? And also really just, I this has been a saying that I started saying a lot. Cast like you're casting Hamilton. Throw that net out like you are casting for Hamilton. And you're not saying, we don't want, if you're vanilla, don't apply. You're saying because we want to, and let people know, this is why we want to do this, because we think it's important to show a myriad of people that do this. We want our product to be reflective of the actual world we live in and not a homogenized world. It's interesting. I listen to a lot of K-pop. Don't hate on me for it. And I watch the videos, and I'm sitting there going, how the hell did these kids from a very homogenized culture get all that swag? Why? Because they did research, and they went and looked, and they did collabs, and they did this to produce the wonderful BTS world we've got going on now. And that truly is the thing to do. You've got to do the homework. You've got to reach out to people, and you've got to say, we want to include you. We are on a mission. And does this mission sound a bit like my son says virtue signaling right now? It may have to be that for right now until we can get to a point where you hold auditions for a play, for a show, for anything, and you see all kinds of people coming in with so much talent and so much diverse talent. But they have to know that they can come to you. They have to know, because I'll tell you this much right now. It's funny. I'm constantly looking for other Black Rennies, and I'll find like maybe one here and one there and one there and one there and one there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, your costumes are amazing, and this, that, and it's even to look for people who are like me. I have to look. And that's if you're putting out, you want to put out a product, homework, do research, look for the people, invite them in, because right now we're in a world where these folks are holding the cards. These folks are they have the house. You have to open that door, send people out and say, come, we want you to come with us and make us richer, make our garden more beautiful. And you know what? No, it's not an easy task. It's not. It is not an easy task. But you have to be committed and want to do it. It cannot just be lip service. You have to cast like you're trying to cast Hamilton. So that's the answer of this person. Somebody else may have a better answer. You know, go into the schools, do a workshop and keep workshopping the people and say, hey, come. Oh, you enjoyed this? Well, look, if you can get here on every Saturday from here to here, how you call it? Like intern or apprentice, do it that way. Have apprentices. Teach them. And then, because one thing I've always learned, when you teach, you learn. You always learn from your students. Do it that way. That way you get more people in. That's all I got. I hope that was helpful.
That was incredibly helpful. That's amazing. I mean, I will say for the Vixens, that's a lot of the type of work that we're excited to be doing and what we hope this conversation and the others in this series will become a bridge to. We know we have a lot of work to do. There's a long way to go. But we're really excited, and we know it's not going to be easy, but we are a group of people who does not shy away from hard uphill climbs. Yeah. So I feel pretty confident that we'll be able to at least greet the challenge, and hopefully we'll be able to meet it.
Right. And it's do understand it's not going to be overnight. It's just not going to be overnight. It takes 10 years to be an overnight sensation. So, you know.
It's time. Right on time.
Yeah. But it's, you know, but the thing is, as long as you're always true and always trying to do it, just the mere fact that you are trying to do it and you are taking that step is way better than just sitting back and waiting for them to come to you. You're never going to get to the grocery store if you stay sitting on your couch. Well, I know you have the apps and you can thank people now, but you know.
If I could Instacart new Vixens.
That would be awesome.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would be awesome.
Vixcart?
Yeah. What? Oh, Vixcart? Incredible. Candace, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This was unbelievable.
Thank you.
Thank you for opening your heart to us, for sharing your experiences. It was very, very incredible to hear. We have just a few minutes left. I invite any other Vixens to call themselves into space if you have anything you'd like to say. Emily, Hippolyta.
Hello. I just wanted to personally say something, as we had the comment in chat from Maria about you paving the way for people at the New York Renaissance Fair. You specifically paved the way for me. I wasn't the first female guard after you, but I was the second. And I was the first female captain of the guard after you. And everybody's like, well, Candace was it first, so you have to live up to that. And I'm like, I can't, but I can, trot behind in the shadow of you because you are such an amazing performer. And I'm just so grateful to have known you all these years because we have a lot of years together. And you specifically helped change my life at the fair. And I just wanted to let you know that publicly and that I love you.
Thank you. Thank you. Whew. I was trying not to get teary during this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will always say, I'm a person when I've done choreography or done anything, I always believe giving it to the next person and making it theirs. Just go off and make it their own, and be their rock star. And I'm sorry, I have to say this. If anyone has watched Lovecraft Country, I keep going, you mean Hippolyta? But thank you so much, Emily, for that. Wow. I do what I do because I love it and it's my passion. And especially like after having my kids, they were one of the reasons I went back to the fair, because we went up there and they saw people talking to me and they're like, you should do this again. You love it so much. It's so much a part of you. And I was like, but no, focus on you guys. They're like, no. Little did I realize they just wanted to get away from me for the weekends, but But thank you, ladies, for doing this series. I think it's extremely important. I hope many other performance groups look at this and take your lead, because I think, especially in this day and time, what you're doing and what you're acknowledging is massive. It means a lot to me personally to see you doing this. And I do hope that it opens up to like including some more amazing performers, and to get out there and just to keep that fire going and to keep igniting other performers to come up and do this and to join you and to continue on and just continue that flame and never allow that flame to go out. And yeah, that's it. I'm gonna shut up now.
We're certainly going to try. It'll be an honor to live up to your expectation of us. For our audience out there, if you want to hear more from Candace on these and many other topics around the Black experience in white spaces, she has been the incredible, fabulous host of 3 different panels called Chips in the Cookie, which are hosted on Vimeo through Facebook. I know that our wonderful, wonderful chat mods have been putting links into the chat here. We're also going to post the links to those on social media tomorrow, so you can find those. Definitely go check them out. They are really important discussions. So we definitely encourage everyone to go and listen to them. And it covers a wide variety of topics. Very, very cool to listen to. We are also tonight supporting the Black Lives Matter Greater New York chapter. So again, a link in the chat. If you're on a laptop, chat. If you're on a mobile device, I'm also not sure the chat's over here. It might be over here. Cameras reverse things, and who knows? But again, we'll have those links available on our social media. We are at Vixens on Guard everywhere you can find us. And we just want to thank Candace one more time. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for speaking.
Thank you. Thank you.
And hopefully, when the world is able to rent fair again, we will, if not be able to cross swords, then certainly cross paths.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you. Thank you once again. And thank you everyone for taking the time to watch. And I am looking forward to your other panels coming up. So
Yes,
I can't wait to
stay
see those.
tuned for upcoming events in this series.
Yes.
The plan is the first Wednesday of every month.
Awesome. 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 So thank you all, ladies.
And good night.
Good night. Much love. Wash hands. Wear a mask.
Thank you.